Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Breaking tonight, the new U.S. operation off the coast of Venezuela. The Trump administration announcing a second tanker with sanctioned oil has been intercepted just days after U.S. forces seized another ship. The late developments tonight and what it could mean in the escalating showdown between the U.S. and Venezuela. The Justice Department facing pushback and tough questions over its release of the Epstein files. The new details about his criminal scheme and the young women he victimized. And tonight, what happened to the files about Donald Trump that were released yesterday and now appear to be missing. The long airport lines on this record holiday travel weekend, and now a threatening mix of snow, wind, and rain, just in time for that last-minute getaway. What to expect as you head out the door. New developments tonight about Nick Reiner now facing first-degree murder charges in his parents' deaths. What we're learning tonight about his mental health condition and the changes to his medication before his parents were killed. A longtime children's pastor now facing life in prison after an NBC News report uncovered decades of missed warnings. The charges he is facing tonight. Breaking barriers in the final frontier. We are in space.
I'm Sky. Oh my God. Oh my God.
We'll hear from the first person in a wheelchair to visit space. He shot to fame making us laugh as an iceberg, a hippo, and even the vice president tonight. SNL's Bowen Yang is preparing for his final show. Meet the Montana family on a mission to save lives who they are reaching out to. And there is good news tonight about one city's special visitor every holiday season and her commitment to make sure no letter goes unanswered.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz Millard.
That deadly shooting in Australia is the latest and deadliest anti-Semitic attack we've seen this year. In October, a terrorist in the United Kingdom targeted a synagogue during Yom Kippur. Back here in the U.S., we saw the murders of 2 Israeli embassy staffers at the Capitol Jewish Museum in April, the arson at Governor Josh Shapiro's house during Passover in Pennsylvania, and a Molotov cocktail attack on Jewish demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado back in June. Joining us now, Leora Rez. She is the founder and executive director of Stop Anti-Semitism. It's a 3-word question, but it's a big one. What's going on, Leora?
Pleasure to be with you once again. And I think, honestly, complete lunacy with rabid hate and bigotry being allowed to take over modern society. If we look at Bondi Beach, what happened last weekend, over 1,000 Jews and friends came to celebrate Hanukkah, and 2 madmen, a father and son, opened fire, killing 14 people, including a 10-year-old child, a Holocaust survivor, and a rabbi amongst the victims. And if we look at a few months back, or actually if we rewind the whole year, what's happened in May, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram gunned down 2 young individuals ready to start their lives who were set to be engaged. They were gunned down leaving a Jewish event in D.C. We look at that and, our heads go, how in the world is this happening in 2025? But it still continues to happen. And unfortunately, our governmental officials, our laws, they are just not doing enough to protect us.
The FBI compiles statistics on this kind of thing, and they're pretty appalling. For 2024, the FBI report says there were 1,938 single-bias hate crimes against Jews. That's the highest number ever recorded since the FBI began collecting the data in 1991. And anti-Jewish incidents comprise nearly 70% of all religious-based hate crimes. Now, the number of Jews in this country and really worldwide is relatively small, and yet you've got 70% of the hate crimes directed against your people. Why?
So I have to tell you, not only are we a tiny minority in this country and around the world, there's only approximately 15 million Jews in the entire world. What's even more frightening is that so many incidents do not get reported. So while this number is staggering, we feel that the actual figure is much, much worse.
The former Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, wrote an op-ed piece for the Wall Street Journal, and in it he writes this: Australia has been manipulated by cynical anti-Israel and anti-Semitic activists. The root cause must be addressed. These terrorists were homegrown. They were radicalized in Australia. The father arrived decades ago. His son was born here. That reality demands accountability. So, there's some talk.
Sifting through the Epstein files this Saturday night. The revelations and redactions from the long-awaited documents linked to the convicted sex offender, why they're fueling accusations of a cover-up.
There's also this mixed feeling of what are we hiding here?
American airstrikes across Syria targeting the so-called Islamic State as the terrorist group eyes a comeback. Taking off without taking your shot.
People think about it a little bit too late.
A growing number of Canadians skipping out on travel vaccines. Plus, on the busiest travel weekend of the year, how these furry friends are lending a paw.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin with revelations and reaction to thousands of newly released documents from the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Their long-awaited release was required by a new transparency law. The deadline for the Justice Department to release the full file was yesterday. But at this point, hundreds of thousands of documents still have not been made public, and many that have are heavily redacted. As Candace Cole explains, it's only fueling allegations of a cover-up.
What are we hiding here?
Angry and frustrated. That is the reaction from the families of Jeffrey Epstein survivors and lawmakers after the Justice Department fell exceedingly short of the December 19th deadline requirement to release all the files related to the late convicted sex offender.
What we understand is that it's about 10%. And so you look at it and you say, well, I thought we asked for all the documents.
Of the files released, hundreds are blacked out entirely, and thousands more are heavily redacted, like this message for Epstein that reads, "I have a female for him," from who remains unknown, leaving many unanswered questions and survivors feeling sidelined.
It's not sufficient. Transparency means timely, complete disclosure, not partial release or delay. Like, we've had a lot of effort and money and time put into redactions, not to protect victims, but to protect people in power.
Most of the files are photos of celebrities, magician David Copperfield, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and many featuring former President Bill Clinton, including one in a hot tub with a woman the DOJ claims is an Epstein victim. Clinton's former chief of staff coming to his defense, accusing the Trump administration of stalling. He suggests Clinton knew nothing of Epstein's sex abuse crimes and cut him off the moment they came to light, while alluding that Trump continued his relationship with Epstein despite the charges against him.
It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends.
President Trump avoided releasing the Epstein files for months into his second term, framing the scandal as a hoax before finally changing course in November. This latest batch of documents barely mentions Trump. His name does appear on a contact list that also names Ivana and Ivanka Trump, and a note that Trump had called for Epstein. Members of Congress now threatening legal action against the Justice Department for failing to meet the deadline.
Thomas Massey and I will continue to explore all options to fight to make sure that they comply with the law, whether that is holding people in inherent contempt, recommending people for prosecution, recommending impeachment, or private lawsuits.
Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General overseeing the release of the Epstein files, told Fox.
It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. The newly released Epstein files reveal a clear pattern of how the late sex offender groomed and abused his victims. A survivor tells Sky News she and others still feel failed.
Had they done their jobs in the first place, a lot of us wouldn't have been in this situation.
The rich, the powerful, and the famous. One former president prominent, and very few mentions of Donald Trump. Also tonight, President Trump claims US airstrikes on Syria have caused a massive blow to Islamic State. Former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua delivers a reality check to YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul in their much-anticipated showdown. And Prince William takes his son George to a homeless shelter in London more than 30 years after as a child. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages. That's coming up in our press preview from 10:30. Hello there, good evening. The US Justice Department has acknowledged it is still reviewing hundreds of thousands of pages of Jeffrey Epstein material for possible release after publishing a tranche of documents last night. Campaigners are criticising the level of redactions in what's been made public and questioned why everything isn't out. What we do see includes the sex offender's humiliating handwritten notes about young women and girls, and there are photos of the rich, powerful and famous who rub shoulders with Epstein, though none are implicated in his crimes. Here then is our US correspondent, James Matthews.
They are words and pictures that tell us more about Jeffrey Epstein, a document dump detailing the life and criminality of a sexual predator in PDF format. On Pennsylvania Avenue, it had been the Friday night before Christmas when the Department of Justice pushed the button on publication. By law, by midnight, they had to release all the files. We saw some, but not all. The DOJ released thousands of files, but thousands more remain unpublished. Friday's release showed us Epstein and the company he kept. Michael Jackson was a celebrity associate. Seen here with Diana Ross and Bill Clinton. The former Democratic president featured prominently in the release by a Republican Department of Justice. He's pictured here in a jacuzzi and in a swimming pool alongside Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime. Bill Clinton has stated he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes and cut him off before they came to light. Ghislaine Maxwell was pictured outside number 10 Downing Street. She and Epstein were a pair who courted the rich and famous. Here she is with Mick Jagger, and here he is on one side of the singer, Bill Clinton on the other. And here is Ghislaine Maxwell with a group at Sandringham, with the former Prince Andrew laid out on the laps of women sitting down. He denies wrongdoing. The new documents reflect the sex crimes that led Jeffrey Epstein to this New York prison, where he hanged himself in 2019. A police incident report from Palm Beach, Florida, lists the pedophile's crimes against women, many underage.
Today, the Prime Minister orders a review into intelligence and law enforcement agencies in the wake of the Bondi terror attack, while women gather at Bondi to commemorate the victims on this National Day of Reflection.
We're here in white, in the spirit of light. We must take that forward.
Australia retains the Ashes, defeating England by 82 runs at Adelaide Oval. And the US Attorney General threatened with legal action after failing to release all the Epstein files at the set deadline. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has asked his department to lead a review into intelligence and law enforcement agencies following the Bondi terror attack. It'll be led by Dennis Richardson, a former public servant who previously led spy agency ASIO and the Department of Defence. The review will examine whether agencies have the right powers, structures, processes and sharing arrangements in place to keep Australians safe. Our political reporter Tom Crowley has the details.
The government had been resisting a royal commission chiefly on the grounds that it would take too long. That's the argument that senior ministers were making. This will be a rapid review reporting back in April, and its findings will be made public. Dennis Richardson has been out himself in the media in the last few days. He is, of course, a former senior bureaucrat. He's been in charge of ASIO, the Department of Defence and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and he said that there are always questions to ask about agencies and the processes that they follow, the powers that they have, always questions about what could have been done differently. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke has been strong in his defence of the agencies this week, saying that he has full confidence in them, but it's something that the AFP and ASIO have been warning about for a long time, that the threat environment is changing, that there are always new strains on their resources. Chrissy Barrett, the AFP Commissioner, she said earlier in the week that she would have conversations about resources with the government whenever she felt that she needed to, and noted again that counter-terrorism a massive priority for her agency. So this review, there's no suggestion that the government is identifying at the outset.
Africa News. The news.
Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov discussed Friday the importance of maintaining a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Speaking during a joint news conference with Lavrov on the sidelines of the second ministerial conference of the Russia-Africa Partnership in Cairo, Abdelati said Egypt is continuing its efforts to push for the launch of the second phase of the ceasefire in Gaza. Therefore, after the completion of the first phase, we must move to the second phase. We hope that this will happen soon. The United States is determined to work towards implementing President Trump's peace plan, which we strongly support, and to expedite the announcement of the second phase so that all requirements can be met, including withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, the issue of disarmament, reconstruction, and the deployment of an international truce. Israel has been accused of near-daily violations of the ceasefire. It has killed over 400 Palestinians since the deal took effect. The mood in the Moroccan national team's training camp further improved with news of the recovery of Captain Ashraf Hakimi on Saturday. Coach Walid Regragui said the PSG defender could play against Comoros if needed. You know that in these competitions, one should move match by match, as we did in the competitions before, and that's it. The team is trying to play match by match and develop itself match after match in order to be ready for the next matches, God willing. The first match we have is the opening match. Firstly, we need to get 3 points that will enable us to move forward on a good path. Everybody knows it won't be an easy match, but a tough one. As everybody knows, the other teams highly regard the Moroccan national team. They know it's going to be a tough match. Morocco, the champion in 1976, is under immense pressure to win what will be just its second Africa Cup title. Algeria's national team arrived on Friday in Morocco ahead of starting their Africa Cup of Nations campaign. The team, coached by Vladimir Petkovic, are under pressure in Group E after a group stage exit in the last edition. The Desert Foxes will face Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea and Sudan. The AFCON begins Sunday with host Morocco aiming to put on a spectacle befitting its quest to become a global soccer power. Also on Friday, Gabon's national team arrived in Casablanca to start final preparations.
DW News live from Berlin. Another round of talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. Russia's special envoy is in the US to discuss Washington's latest proposals, but Ukraine doubts anything new will come of the talks, and soldiers on the front line are adamantly opposed to giving up land. Also coming up, grief spills over into anger after the death of a Bangladeshi activist. He was shot earlier this month and died of his injuries this week, sparking more unrest in an already unstable political climate. And the city of Magdeburg in eastern Germany marks a year since an attack on a Christmas market killed 6 people and injured many more.
Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom here in Paris. This is Daybreak, our headlines this Sunday. The Australian Prime Minister orders review of security and intelligence services as the country marks 1 week since the shooting in Bondi Beach. The day of reflection includes candle lighting and a minute of silence marking the exact moment the attack began. Questions and criticism in the U.S. after the Justice Department removes some of the files it had published relating to Jeffrey Epstein. The now missing files included an image showing photos of Donald Trump. And the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations is set to kick off this Sunday evening in Morocco. The opening match in Rabat pits the hosts against Comoros. Morocco's Atlas Lions are the big favorite, but they'll face stiff competition from powerhouses like Senegal. We begin once again in Australia, where the country is holding a national day of reflection 1 week after the shooting at a Jewish festival on Bondi Beach. Crowds have been gathering at a waterfront memorial, and Australians nationwide are called to light candles and observe a minute of silence at exactly 6:47 p.m. local time, marking the moment the first shots rang out. The attack was carried out by a father and son, the latter of whom had been flagged for possible radicalization. This Sunday, Australia's Prime Minister ordered a review of the country's security and intelligence services. Peter O'Brien has the latest.
Flags fly half-mast and tributes grow.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.